What's going on, ladies and gents, boys and girls, guardians of all ages? Joker back again, once again, and the Vidoc for Joker's Wild and Season of the Drifter has dropped. So first and foremost, I think it's super important to separate the lore and lore implications, and dare I say, lore hype. Being hyped about potential story revelations is not the same thing as being hyped about day-to-day gameplay. This DLC is, for the most part, written on the title, a Gambit update. It's just more Gambit. And if you liked Gambit, well, you're gonna like this. If you didn't like Gambit, well, you're not gonna like the core gameplay loop of this update. Looking at the roadmap, Joker's Wild seems to be a bit more content sparse than Black Armory was. The bulk of the gameplay centering around a gameplay loop of two activities, Gambit Prime and the Reckoning. Gambit Prime is described as a one-round sweatier version of Gambit, which I didn't know it was possible to get sweatier than Gambit, but here we are. And the end bosses to these one-round sweaty Gambit matches will have raid-like mechanics, undoubtedly implemented to stop the insta-burn of bosses that we see in Gambit matches currently. Obviously, killing your boss as quick as possible will still be part of the game, but at least it's not summon primeval, kill a couple of witches, and then the boss is melted. It's gone, he's dead, they killed everyone. Anyways, moving forward. The Reckoning is this new kind of horde mode looking activity that is equated to the Crota's End raid. You even see this kind of drop down into a pit callback to the Crota raid.
The Reckoning is a pinnacle PvE experience inside the Drifter's Ball, and it's pretty intense.
The Reckoning will be broken up into 3 tiers, and those 3 tiers will be released over 3 weeks between March 5th and March 15th. From my understanding, this is how you get the set bonus armor for Gambit Prime. So the gameplay loop here is supposed to be go play Gambit Prime, then go do the Reckoning, then get loot, then go play more Gambit Prime, then go do the Reckoning again, get more loot, and so on and so forth. The Thorn quest will be available March 12th, week 2, which is way better than the Last Word quest, which wasn't available till the end of Season of the Forge, serving as sort of a heralding event into Season of the Drifter. The weapon also seems to function differently than its Destiny 1 counterpart. It looks like in the video when you get kills, these orbs will appear that prime the Thorn. Also, can we take a moment to respect how well this man understands the Destiny community?
Week 2, you're going to start your journey to Thorn. I cannot wait to complain about people with Thorn as I'm holding Thorn.
He's not wrong. Anyways, I like how they're bringing back Thorn, but they're making it different like they did with the Last Word, so it's not just a copy-paste reskin from Destiny 1. That said, it still remains to be seen if Thorn will be any good. I'm sort of hoping they brought back the base weapon with the mechanical functionality that it had during Destiny 1 Year 1 during House of Wolves. And the only thing that they've changed is the way that the Mark of the Devourer perk functions. There are also a few notable changes to the roadmap. Joker's Wild weekly bounties have changed to the Alliance quest, which will have you pick between the Vanguard and the Drifter. I really hope there's a good excuse for that, because other than people going, "Oh my god, I wanna be dark, edgy, evil guardians." Don't get me wrong, the current Vanguard has been about as useful as a wet paper bag. However, they are still the protectors and quasi-ruling body of the city, so to betray that loyalty, I'm gonna need something more than, well, you can be a bad guy. Unless the consequences are so extreme, like you're kicked out of the tower, you can just never load back into the tower or something, that would be kind of cool, but that's not gonna happen. The Xur bounties, which were originally listed on the roadmap, have been changed to Invitations of the Nine. All we know about these right now is that once completed, you get powerful gear and lore. I'm really hoping that they use this as a vehicle to bring back 9-themed rewards. Like, new ones, not just the same reskin things that we already had. Because as of now, the only huge reward set overhaul that we're seeing is Gambit gear. That's getting new weapons and armor, but that's about it. Yes, there will be some new exotics apparently. Maybe they'll update the Iron Banner armor, but as far as we know, Vanguard's not getting a change, Crucible's not getting a change, and the cash shop will undoubtedly get a change. So I think if they put in one more set of gear here and it's 9-themed, that'll give people who aren't necessarily into Gambit something to chase after instead of being completely excluded from this DLC outside of a couple of side quests. My overall impression, gut reaction, hot take though, Don't get me wrong, I'm interested to see if Reckoning has a storyline and to see where that goes. I mean, look, Hive and Taken have invaded the Nine's Ascended realm, Sign me the fuck up, you already have my attention. And the 9's working with the Drifter, and the 9's working with Mara, and I'm sure the 9 will eventually be working with Callus, because Penumbra, and all of this is in service to the arrival of the Pyramid ships. And then Mara went off time traveling, and then her brother's still around, and there's this, that, and the other. So there's an interesting story to be had here. The story, no problem with. I'm enjoying it. The gameplay loop that they've discussed and the rewards that they've shown off leave a lot to be desired for me at least. The 3 new pinnacle weapons all sound very interesting, with the Vanguard Scout Rifle being I think the cream of the crop here, given that it does more Firefly damage based on the number of precision shots that led up to that Firefly explosion, and it'd be really interesting to see how that stacks with the Firefly mod introduced in Black Armory. But as far as other pursuits go, there's only 2 announced sets of armor. One is the Gambit armor, which has set bonuses to it, which is a really intriguing thing, and I really hope that we see more of this in the game, like strike bonuses or crucible bonuses or something like that. Hell, if you want to introduce pinnacle armor that people can just get by playing for Crucible and Vanguard, that's how you do it. Just make set bonuses. And then the other armor that we see is a reskin of OG Destiny 2 Year 1 armor. This armor is tied to the spring event, which seems to be taking the place of the traditional April update, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was along the lines of the Halloween event. The new weapons for Gambit all look pretty cool, but they're gonna need to be interesting, like the Black Armory weapons with really cool combinations, for them to stand out or even be worth chasing. There's no raid, no strikes, there doesn't seem to be any new Crucible maps. Season of the Drifter, as expected, focuses heavily on Gambit, and will live and die based on what metas form and how the community interacts with the game. In my opinion, Gambit has become somewhat of a divisive game type. I think when it was initially introduced, it had a lot of momentum, but as the various metas came into play and people got burnt out on it rather quickly, I know I did, but with the new mode and the changes to Gambit in general coming with the DLC, I'm willing to step in and give this mode a shot. But make no mistake, this DLC, with everything it doesn't have, lives and dies on the community's reception to Gambit 2.0. That being said, can we step back and talk about how cool this lore looks? You got the 9, you got the Shadows, you got the Taken in the 9's Ascended Realm, you have this potential schism between the Vanguard and the Guardians based on this Allegiance questline, and then you got in the background all the stuff that's happening with the Dreaming City in Savathûn, which may or may not have anything to do with the Pyramid ships. And then you have all these factions that are gearing up for this war that we, the player, will inevitably have to fight, but nobody's telling us, nobody's cluing us in on shit at this point. And then, oh yeah, by the way, you might remember that Aldrin was revived as a Guardian, and that plotline has not resolved. Which, if I might go on another tangent here, if we think about the loyalty mission, Aldrin coming back and being just accepted as a Guardian might be a really, really compelling reason for our Guardian to go, you know what? Fuck you guys. Also, another tangent. I know, tangent within a tangent within kind of a tangent. Super excited to see Bungie getting into branching narrative stories. Thank you. This is how Destiny's story should have been told since day 1. Let's keep this up. Let's do more of these. In fact, if you could just make Destiny 3 branching narrative stories, that'd be great. Please, thanks, bye. Anyways, returning to something that may resemble a point, I'm super excited for all the lore that looks like it's going to be packed into Season of the Drifter. I mean, one of the rewards for doing the invitations of the 9 is lore, and that lore could be like their origin story. Like, that would be so cool. Like, where did the 9 come from? What are they planning? What have they been doing? How have they been guiding human evolution since the collapse? All of that. I want to know it. It's ripe, fertile ground for really great storytelling. So please, please, don't fuck it up. Anyways, moving forward, back to the point. Like Black Armory, longevity is going to be the biggest concern with Season of the Drifter. The roadmap looks good month 1, but that's because all the content is time gated. If this was all available day 1, it would all be beaten day 1 by the majority of the player base. Longevity here seems to be a product not of quality or quantity, but of artificial time gating. And as I've stated in the past and talked about a little bit in this video, not using activities like the Crucible and Strikes, not refreshing their loot, not introducing new activities under these banners, is a waste of these activities. For example, I'm sure I'll have fun running however many strikes I need to run over and over and over and over and over again to get the new Pinnacle Scout Rifle. But you know what would be even better? New strikes. You know, to break up the monotony. Same thing goes for the Nightfalls. And would it kill somebody to make some maps that accommodated 6v6 playstyles, not just 4v4 maps trying their best to be 6v6 maps? Or could we get the reintroduction of 3v3? I'm not saying, I'm just saying. All in all, I think it's safe to say your mileage will definitely vary with this DLC based on your enthusiasm for Gambit. If you don't care about Gambit, you won't care about the rewards, you won't care about this DLC. Outside of the sprinkling of other content. But hey, those are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below, and like always, stay frosty.